relates to automobile fuel. Because when you go to a gas station and you select your gas pump, you will notice that it says minimum octane rating 87, 89, 91, or 93, right? How many have an 87 car? Come on. 89, 91, 93? Okay, come through with the 93. All right, so here's the thing about octane rating. A fuel's octane rating essentially tells you its capacity to withstand pressure. And the reason why this matters is because engines operate by generating a certain amount of pressure in order to power the machine for which the engine was created. Now, the higher the octane rating of a fuel, the more pressure it can take without spontaneously combusting. And the reason this matters, y'all, is because engines are designed for their octane rating. Wow. So to make this practical, a rocket requires a rocket engine. And that rocket engine has to generate an immense amount of pressure in order to power that rocket. And so the rocket engine requires rocket fuel. Rocket fuel is incredibly high octane. Why? Because it has to be able to withstand the pressure needed to operate the rocket without igniting. Now, on the other end of the continuum, we have a lawnmower engine, okay? A lawnmower engine doesn't generate a whole lot of pressure, so you don't need very high octane fuel. It's because different engines are designed for different purposes.
Right.
They travel different distances at different velocities. And so you need a fuel that can withstand the pressure of the distance and the velocity. In other words, you cannot make a low capacity, low octane engine high capacity or high octane just by giving it high octane fuel. As a matter of fact, if you were to give a car jet fuel, what would happen is the component parts of the engine would eventually break down and stall, because no matter how much pressure that engine tries to generate, the jet fuel would simply absorb the pressure. And so eventually the engine will get frustrated and it will break down. Now, to bring this whole concept down to eye level, how many of you have ever found yourself in a job, in a low capacity job? Or how many of you have ever found yourself in a relationship where you were the one with the vision, you were the one with the goals and the strategy, you were the one with the drive, but your partner was complacent, your partner was comfortable, and so you found yourself constantly trying to push him to do more and be more, and eventually you get frustrated. This is what it's like to be a high octane woman in a low capacity relationship. So the point of all of this explanation is that when you are a high octane woman in a low capacity situation, you will feel frustrated and you will eventually stall. Why? Because you were designed to be high octane. You know, people ask me all the time, they say, Nona, how is it that you do so many things? So, senior tech executive, entrepreneur, pastor, wife, mom, author, all of these things, and my answer has been the same through the years, and that is this: I don't know how to be any other way, because this is how I was designed.
Yes.
As I was thinking about my time in high school, this idea that we're going to be two independently high-octane people who come together and we create a supernova, when in fact, what typically happens is you have a high-octane woman who is married to a man who may not appreciate all that she has to offer, or he may be the type of man who is comfortable with things as they are. He may be the type of man who doesn't like change. He doesn't like challenge. And so you end up in a situation where your potential is constrained. Which is why, as I talk to other high-octane executive women, the consistent refrain that I hear is that there's a lot of frustration. And this is why you see a lot of high-octane women who are staying single, or they're even ending up divorced. And what I want to do is I want to spend the next half of my session giving you the realities and the strategies to thrive as a high-octane married woman.
Yes.
You
Hallelujah.
see, next month, my husband and I will celebrate 19 years of marriage.
Amen.
And I appreciate the applause, but I'm gonna give you the real, because that's why we're here. So when I got married, y'all, I didn't know what marriage was. I had never seen it in my head.
Ooh, hallelujah.
That the man that God created for me, I saw him as a liability and not an asset.
Oh.
And how many times have you seen successful women say, I don't need you. I got this. I realized, y'all, that everything that I am and everything I have is a gift from the hand of God. There is nothing special about me. God can do anything with anybody. He does not need Nona Jones. He does not need any of us. So when he chooses to work through us, we have to honor him with humility. And y'all, humility gets a bad rap. People think humility is about thinking lowly of yourself, but no, humility is simply fully occupying the lane of life that God has given to you. That's it. And I realized as I was doing a Bible study one day, I was in the book of James, and the Lord was having some heated fellowship with me. I saw James chapter 4 and 6, where the Bible says that God resists the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. Some of us in this room are stagnated because the pride in our heart is blocking the grace on our life. And I want my husband to speak a little bit about his experience, because there's another side to this story. And I'd love for you, babe, to just share how you experienced me and all that God has been teaching you about humility in our marriage as well.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Just being fully transparent, this is an area to where God has really just been dealing with me in my life. And if you allow me to be transparent, that's what I want to do. I mean, you have to understand, when my wife and I first got married, I think it was both of our expectation that it would be me that would be going around speaking all over the place. I was the one that was going into ministry. The truth be told, when I first met Nona, I really don't, I mean, maybe you can speak to yourself, I don't think she really had any ambition to be doing what she's doing right now. I think you would have been happy speaking, she was preaching, she was ordained, but I don't think she had any interest in doing what she's doing now. It was always thought that it would be me going around writing books and doing all these things. And so you have to understand, when ministry started picking up, my wife would at times be gone 20 days out of the month, speaking, going from here, going to this place, the next place. And guess who was at home taking care of everything? Me. Guess who was at home taking care of the boys? Me. Guess who was at home leading the local church and handling all of our affairs? Me. Guess who was in grad school trying to finish my seminary degree and all of these different things? Me. While my wife is traveling all around from plane to plane, speaking to place to place to place. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, can I be honest? I felt some kind of way about that. You know, here I am, I'm at home, I'm supposed to be the one out there speaking, doing all this while you're jumping off the plane, doing all this stuff. And I have to be honest, everyone thought that she was great, everyone was loving her, everyone was celebrating her. But to be honest, there were times when I was at home, I couldn't stand her. And she would walk into the house and we wouldn't speak at all. But I think the thing that helped me and the thing that I learned was that God didn't design me to do what she was doing.
Ooh.
Even though I thought that's what it was, he didn't design me to do it. Sometimes you look at a person and you see them in their success and you see the money that they're making in the platform. You desire to be that or to have that without considering the cost that you have to go through in order to get there.
Right.
And so for me, I'm not designed to do what she does. My wife wakes up first thing in the morning. She goes runs and 5 to 7 miles every morning. Then she comes home. She's in meetings all day long, back to back, to about 5 to 6 p.m. She gets done. Then she goes and works out again. And then sometimes she'll leave and go jump on a plane, spend all day flying someplace to go speak this place. And then she flies back home, spends all that time, all day traveling to get back home to me. And then the next day she'll wake up and come to a leadership meeting with me at our church or service. And then she has to spend some time alone and go write this book because she has a deadline and all that. And the thing that I learned about her, she can do all that and it doesn't stress her out. She doesn't get tired because she's designed to do that. All of that type of stuff would completely stress me out. I'm designed to pastor a local church. I'm not getting on no plane, traveling, doing all that. I like working with people one-on-one, getting to know the person. And so one of the things that I think that I had to learn that helped me through it is that we have to learn to stay within our own lanes.
Ooh, yes.
And God designs us sometimes. And sometimes we can begin to fight the differences in our design. And I think early on that's what we did. But I learned that God designed you to do what you do, and He designed me to do what I do as well.
Man. They are callings. And when you are called to something, you are graced for it.
Right.
So the way that this looks practically is, my husband did say, I spend a lot of time in meetings and working on business strategies and all these things. What I do is I'm fully submitted to that calling, and I bring the expertise that I build in that calling to serve the vision my husband has. So for example, my husband said that he loves pastoring. He has a shepherd's heart. Y'all listen, my husband's the type of man that if somebody came to him and was like, Pastor, listen, I really need counseling, he will spend 3 hours with them. He will give them practical instruction. They will come back to him a week later and they will not have implemented what he said, and he will spend another 3 hours with them. Listen to me. I love people, and I am not the one who will spend 6 hours with you after I've given you biblical instruction, I've given you wisdom from my experience, and you still haven't implemented it. What I will say is implement it, then let's talk. What he will say is, oh, that's okay, let's just grab some time. We'll grab some time, we'll see what the Lord says. I praise God for that. That is his
Or perfects you.
Right.
And so I've learned over the years that my wife completes and perfects me. In every area of my life to where I'm weak, she's strong, and vice versa. So for example, I'm known as what is called a frugal person. Any frugal people? Here's the thing, I don't tend to like to spend money.
God, but amen.
That is of God. I don't like to spend money. So I would tend to have a nice house, but I might still have the same furniture I had when I was in college.
Y'all see me about that between the session, because he really would still have the...
Because there ain't nothing wrong with that furniture. It's perfectly fine. But I married a woman who completely wouldn't do that. But in the same sense, she balances me, I balance her. My wife, in my opinion, has problems sometimes telling people no. She loves to do things, she loves to serve, and so people will just load stuff on her, stuff that they need to get done, and she'll spend all night long working on other people's stuff because she sometimes just wants to be pleasing. Well, I don't have that problem telling people no.
Unless they need counseling.
And so, you know, we balance each other, and I think the main thing is trying to see you as a compliment over the years rather than someone who tries to control me. And that's hard to do, and I think the problem is because in order to do it, you got to learn how to communicate with one another. I think that there were times to where early on my wife and I struggled with this because when she would come to me, she would talk to me with such bass in her voice to where I thought it was another man living in the house. Anybody know what I'm talking about? She would come to me and say, honey, you need to do this.
Yep.
I'm saying, come again? Wait a minute. You got a little too much bass in your... And so I think we had to learn how to communicate.
One goal. And we were conflicting is, to my husband's point, we didn't see each other as teammates. We saw each other as adversaries. So my success was his failure, and it was almost like this resentment kind of built up. But when we adopted one team, one dream, we realized that, you know what, when he succeeds, I succeed. When I succeed, he succeeds. And so the way that we structure even our finances, and this may not be everybody's thing for different reasons, y'all, we have a shared bank accounts. Like, we see every penny that comes in. We know where the money's going, who's it going to. Like, there are no secrets at all. And so when I was increasing in my compensation, we were increasing in my compensation because it wasn't my money and his money and I'm gonna put a little something on it. I remember one time we went out shopping. We were doing like a church fellowship, and we went to like an outlet mall, and the ladies were getting ready to go, and they were like, all right, girl, I'm gonna spend this, I'm gonna spend that. And my husband had the nerve to be like, all right, you got $50, make it stretch. I said, we're gonna see what $50 buys you later. One team, one dream. We know it's not about both spouses being famous. It's about both spouses being on the same team, on the same page, pulling in the same direction. That's what it means to be a high-octane power couple. And honey, I would love for you to share your thoughts on how
Somebody's going to be a little, depending on how you define that, more successful or make more money. I think the only time that becomes a problem is when the woman is more successful or makes more money than the man. That's really the only time it becomes a problem. And I think sometimes we as men can blind ourselves or hinder ourselves based on the success of our partners from achieving our main goal, and that's achieving the advancement of the family's goals.
Right.
And so I think, I agree with you, you gotta have a team concept. At our house, everything's about Team Jones. And so, you know, when you have that team concept, why in the world would I be jealous or upset at her success? That's helping Team Jones. So as far as I'm concerned, I've never tried to restrain her. I've never tried to limit her in any way, shape, or form. I'm always pushing her because the more successful you are in what you do, the more successful I am in what I do, the more successful Team Jones is. And at the end of the day, that's where we're at.